students, it's Ms.Boley here. We're gonna go over a couple of ways that you can use just pencil, eraser, and some pencil crayons. And really you only really need the pencil and the eraser to draw some clouds. Okay, so the first type of cloud, I'm only gonna draw 3 types because those are kind of the 3 main types that we need to know. A technique for drawing, and then you can combine those 3 different techniques for the different types of clouds that you need to draw. So I'm going to start out by doing a cumulus cloud. So this one will be the cumulus cloud. So those clouds are really puffy and really like cotton candy looking. So what we want to avoid, I mentioned this earlier, what we want to avoid is drawing like this. Right, that's cute, and definitely there's a place for those type of clouds, but we're trying to do more rooted in observation and helping us to identify clouds out in real life. So we're gonna do a different way of drawing them. So with these ones, the bumps are all exactly the same size. We're gonna try to make them varied in our drawing. So what I'm starting to do is I'm going to draw a line. This is just a guideline. So I'm using super light pressure. And then I'm going to draw some circles of different sizes, mostly above the line, because the cumulus cloud is mostly like, goes upwards and then a little bit of bubbles under the line. And it is kind of more of an oval shape, not a round circle shape, right? So anyways, here we go. So drawing some circles of different sizes. Okay. Now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to outline around the bubbles. And I'm using a bit darker of pressure, but still not dark pressure. Okay. And then I'm going to take my eraser. I'm going to gently erase. I'm not trying to erase like all of the circle lines because I think they kind of make the cloud look a little bit more 3-dimensional. I'm just going to erase gently so that it doesn't look just like a whole bunch of circles. Okay, and then I can smudge it with my finger a bit. And I definitely have a nice puffy cloud shape, and it looks kind of like it's a little bit popping out because of those bubble circles that I had drawn. Now I'm going to think about shading. So I'm gonna need to think about, with shading clouds, where my sun would be. Where would the sun be? Where's the light coming from? So we can think kind of about like the elevation of the clouds. So the cumulus clouds are lower in the sky. Their elevation is lower. So it would make sense that the sun would be like up above them. And it might be shining like down towards them, and maybe even like through the clouds, like you see that sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that little sun drawing to remind me that the light is up here. And so that means that this area up here at the top is going to be light, and the shading would actually be kind of like under that bump, right? So like wherever I had drawn those bumps, I could put a little bit of shading. I'm not trying to overdo it though. If you go overboard, it kind of maybe doesn't look right. But if you just do a little bit of shading here or there, it definitely looks like the cloud is popping out. All right, so now if I only have pencil available, I can do some shading in my background. You are welcome to use blue pencil crayon for this part as well. But just before you do that, see what I'm going to do for the next step. So I'm going to make some sun rays popping through the cloud. So I'll just do a bit of shading around the cloud. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my eraser. And remember how I had drawn like that sun ray direction, right? Could be coming like out there and out there and out there. So I'm going to make some little lines that I'm going to erase. I'm not going to do that one over there. I'm going to erase to make it look like there's sun rays popping through. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back and kind of shade around with those eraser lines that I had done. So that looks like, you've probably seen that, where it looks like the sun is like piercing through the clouds. All right, so that's my cumulus cloud. And you could totally go and add some blue pencil crayon in wherever you've done your shading if you wanted to make it look like the sky was blue. And if you wanted to do the exact same technique, maybe for the cumulonimbus clouds, because it's more of a gray kind of feeling with those ones. Okay, so next type of cloud that we're going to do is the stratus cloud. So here we go. So I thought that what I noticed with those is that they were more like they were like the cumulus cloud, but they were like stretched out. And they were kind of like wispy and stretched out, more so than the cumulus. So, and they were also flat on the bottom. So I'm going to do a flat line. And then I'm not going to use those bubble shapes or anything. I'm just going to draw kind of a diagonal line that's a little bit more of an organic line, a little bit wavy. I'll do a couple of those, 3 of those. And I'm going to draw a couple of those bubbles that, like what I did with the cumulus, just up here. It just sort of look like it's ending off on a bubbly shape. And then again, I can erase those. For shading these, I'm thinking that the light will be again above, right? So the top part of the cloud would not have any shading, and it would maybe have just a bit. When I'm looking at the pictures of these clouds, I am seeing sort of a bit of a gray shading a little bit in the middle. So that would be my stratus. And then I did do, in a live meet earlier, some coloring of these ones, and this is kind of what I came up with. So I have colored in between the clouds with blue. So yeah. Now we're going to move on to the cirrus clouds. So with those ones, when I was looking at the picture, they look kind of like a claw, like almost, and they're way wispier than the stratus clouds. And so, and the other thing that I noticed about them was that, you know how the bottom of the stratus clouds is flat? With the cirrus, it's more curving up. In most of the pictures that I saw, they were kind of like almost vertical in some cases in those pictures. So what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to draw some guides. I'm going to draw a curvy claw sort of shape. Or I guess that would be maybe like a half C shape. And I'll do that again. Can maybe draw 3 or 4. And these are just going to be guides for where I'm going to draw the claw, the wispy claws. So here's what it'll look like. just sort of like a wispy claw shape. And you are welcome to look at the pictures of the cirrus clouds to see what I mean and see if this is what it looks like to you. Okay, and then for the shading of those, like they are quite wispy, so they're thinner, so you can see sort of the sky background through them in some cases. So I could do a little bit of shading kind of in the middle of them, because that's where I'd be able to see the sky through them. And then again, I don't want to take up all the time in the video coloring, but what I would do then, if I did have access to pencil crayons, is I can color around the shapes, because they do seem to stand out quite a bit in a lot of the pictures against the blue skies. And for the sky, if you have different, like I grabbed all of the blues and grays that I had in my pencil crayons. So you can definitely use some darker blue, maybe underneath them, just depending on what you're seeing in the reference image. So here's what that one would look like. Okay. So that's the first three types. And then the rest of them, many of them are just combinations of these three types. So for example, cirrocumulus are kind of like cirrus clouds and cumulus clouds. So they're like mini cumulus clouds sort of stretched out. So how can you take the techniques that we've done and combine them to draw the other types of clouds? So you're eventually going to have drawings of 10 different types of clouds, and we're gonna do something with them later. And I hope you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching.